everybody, I hope that you're having a great week so far. Today I'm going to continue our new series on how to plan to live delighted. You can live well and enjoy your life if you plan to. If you don't plan to, you will simply be tossed and turned by circumstances and what happens to you. So make sure that you're doing what it takes to plan the life of delight and joy. It's not the life that's going to come most easily, because the things around us are going to tempt us to be filled with everything but joy. We have fear, we have bitterness, we have anger, we have rage. There are all kinds of things in our culture, in our world, and in the environmental influences around us that are going to pull us away from joy. You have to cling to that joy intentionally if you want to live a life of delight. It's not circumstantial happiness, it's happiness you have chosen and made a deliberate part of your lifestyle. So here are some tips for today's plan to live delighted. I'm telling you, spiritually, emotionally, and in your lifestyle, plan your life's dessert first. If you're going to the best restaurant that you've ever been to, let's say you get to go to Europe or in New York or someplace fabulous, you're going to save room for their special dessert. There's a restaurant here in Tampa called Burns, and you definitely want to save room for dessert there. Their dessert room is made of oak wine barrels as the booths are made out of that. So they're fabulous to just sit in. There's such a wonderful environment, and they have a separate set of chefs that make their desserts from scratch. Most high-end restaurants order the desserts shipped in, frozen, but this place has them made from scratch. So if you go someplace like that, you definitely plan for the best coming last. So why don't we do that with our lives? We can definitely do that if you plan it. If you plan your life in such a way that you save room for joy, you make room and put aside the moments that are going to give you joy, then you can have your dessert in life every single day. And that dessert is simply a figurative way of saying what God gives us as His best. So in order to do that, we need to zoom out. You need to not get focused on the tedium, the tyranny of the urgent, all of those things moment by moment that are going to pull you away from joy. You need to make sure that you take time to zoom out and say to yourself, God, how would you have me see this day, this life from your perspective? If you zoom out, it helps you see things objectively and put those little crises that happen, and some of them are serious, but when you put them in God's perspective, you can get a little calmer. You can start to recognize, oh wait, it's not just that I have to focus on what's on my plate in front of me in this moment, because the chef has got something better coming. There's another dish, another course in our life that's on its way in, and it's going to be amazing, because God brings us that best thing when we least expect it and when we most need it. So dream those God-sized dreams from His perspective. Ask Him to fill your heart and your mind and your soul with His joy. It says, give me the desires of my heart. That doesn't mean, God, give me what I think I want. That means give me the desire for what you want. So when we zoom out, we can dream those big dreams that are beyond our own capacity to think of or imagine, to dream those things that are God's imagination, filling our minds and our hearts. These are the good things that we can get best. So hope for what's beyond the reach of your own fingertips. The things that you can see are not the best things that are coming. Hope for something that you don't have yet. When you cast your heart's line out towards something that's beyond what you can see and touch, then that pulls you forward. That pulls you into something that's new, that's beyond the horizon, that's going to motivate you to keep moving with joy, with an expectant joy toward the next thing that you've got coming. So plan that dessert first. You don't have to plan what the dessert's going to look like or how it's going to taste, but assure yourself the dessert is coming, and I'm going to make room in my mind and my heart to hope in that dessert. So plan to be surprised with the best thing that hasn't come yet. Sketch out your best outcomes. You can sketch that out. What would be the best next step? What would be the best next season in my life? What would that look like? Sketch it out, but leave God the room to change it a little bit because He might have something better. So sketch out what your best possible outcome is and then say, I know this is what I can imagine. Therefore, God has something even better than that. So if I shoot for my best outcome and leave the rest up to God and plan to do the best things I can to get toward that optimal life, then I can trust that God is either going to get me there or get me beyond it because His imagination is much bigger than mine. And I have a pretty active imagination. He has always been able to surprise me with something better than what I had hoped for. So resist the temptation to fill up on the bitter things that are in front of you on the table. There are always going to be things laid out on the table in front of us that we can fill ourselves up on. You're always going to be tempted to get mad that things didn't go the way you expected. That you're always going to be tempted to be afraid of how things could happen next. You're always going to be tempted that things are out of your control, so we can get angry about that, we can get scared about that, or we can rest in the fact that it always was out of our control, whether we admitted it or not. And don't get filled up on bitter substitutes. Those have no nutritional value, but hope, whether it has nutritional value in the moment or not, is always going to feed your soul. It's always going to fill you with more than empty calories. It'll fill your heart. It'll motivate you. Actually, hope has been proven to have medical benefits for your mind and your heart and your spirit and your body. So choosing to be afraid does absolutely nothing for you. You can make good plans. You can make wise plans. But being fearful after you've done your best and your due diligence does absolutely nothing to benefit you. It's only degrading your emotional and spiritual and physical well-being. So if you choose to resist those bitter substitutes of fear, of insecurity, and of anger and bitterness, and instead saying, you know what, I got to let go of those things. I've got to brush those out of my way of thinking, of my attitudes toward my life, and choose instead, because we don't live in a vacuum, emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually. Something's always going to fill that empty space. So when you brush that out, you fill it with hope, you fill it with joy and delight, intentional joy and delight, choosing joy and delight for every day. So you fill that empty space with good stuff so there's no room for the bitterness. There's no room for the fear. There's no room for that angry, impatient way of looking at things. You instead have this grace with other people, choosing it, choosing to have grace. It's intentional. It's not our first reaction. But the more you choose it and you decide to define yourself by joy and say, I've got the dessert coming. I don't have to get mad that there's nothing left on my plate. I don't have to get mad that I'm pushing stuff away that looks like it's tempting. I know I've got better stuff coming, and I'm hoping in that. So when you choose to plan that dessert first, that will help take care of your temptation to grab at the things that are right around you. So make sure that you are putting things in front of you that are reminding you you've got the dessert coming. If you have to, get a small dessert fork and put it somewhere what will remind you that you don't have to fill up on bitterness. You don't have to fill up on anger. You don't have to get yours because yours is going to be given to you. You just have to simply be obedient. You have to be diligent in doing the right thing every moment of every day. Being that right person every moment of every day. And choosing an attitude of joy so that you're ready to eat that dessert. Because the more you look forward to the best, most chocolatey cake, the better that cake is going to taste and the better you're going to receive it because you've looked forward to it. You're going to appreciate it more. So save room for that. Save room for that. Keep that in mind. So when you're looking forward to the good things, you will experience the joy of the anticipation of those good things instead of looking at what you don't have in front of you or what you don't want in front of you. Look at what you're getting next, what you expect to get next. Plan your best and say, I am moving forward. I am going to be successful in my life. I am going to be the right person. I am going to be a great parent. I am going to be a wonderful spouse to my spouse. I'm going to be a good neighbor. I am becoming that every day. I am going to be a person who's remembered. Look at your epitaph in your life. How do you want to be remembered? Let that be part of your dessert. It's not morbid to think about your epitaph because it's building your legacy. Think about who you are becoming. How are you going to choose to be remembered? And what are you going to do every day toward making your life that delicious memory that everyone else smells like a fragrance after you're gone? Will people smell the sweetness of who you are after you've long been gone? Will people still remember that every day? That's how you live every day that builds toward that. So be expecting of a good dessert, a good ending as you are living your life every day. Be the person that you're becoming a little bit more each day. Be the person who can be joyful a little bit more each day. Be a person who has peace a little bit more each day, and do the things that it's going to take. If you can envision who you're going to be in the future, that ultimate goal of the right person, that life of peace and happiness and joy that you're expecting as your dessert, if you can envision that, then you can kind of plan backwards and say, here are the things that I need to do to be the kind of person who can sustain that lifestyle when I get there. So make those plans now. Plan your dessert first. And then you won't spoil your appetite before you get to it. You'll have planned to make room for the things that lead you in that direction. So that's what I have for you today. And I do want to announce I had a winner from my last series for an Amazon gift card, which I will do again soon. So be looking for that. I do have a winner, and I'm going to be contacting that person soon. The winner is Jim Kressler, who is watched quite often. I don't see him on here today, but he did win an Amazon gift card, and I will soon be doing that again. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this message today. Check out my blog. It'll be up soon at divineencouragement.com, and I hope you have a blessed rest of your week. Bye-bye.